Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the BAF Castle. This week we have a very special guest for you. He's the commanding officer of the House, a bit of a joker, and well, by this point, everyone knows who he is. Everyone loves him, well, including himself, that is. Everyone, please welcome Colonel TJ. Here he is.
Good morning,
Hello,
Mr.
hello.
Talk
How
Show
are you doing
host.
today?
I'm
Oh, yeah,
doing
careful, don't bring us
very,
through that,
very
yeah.
fine. Yeah, a
Fantastic.
little bit of collider
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
Yeah,
Well, it's good
I'm
to see you.
just
Please make yourself at home. Yeah, go for it. Well, of course, first things first, thank you very much for coming on. I really do appreciate it, as I'm sure our lovely audience does
anytime,
as well, of course.
anytime.
So, without further ado, I think we should get into the nitty gritty, a bit of history, if you will, because we all love a bit of history, don't we? So, first things first, of course, when we first met, we were climbing the ranks together as NCMs back in the old days of the King's Royal Hussars. Some days that many of you might remember, and of course, some of you might not, because we have now rebranded to be the Hadrian's Armoured Legion. Can you explain a little bit about that process, since you are so heavily involved in it, and how easy or difficult it might have been? What the trials and tribulations? What is your experience?
Ah, jeez, heading out the hard topics already.
Of course, of
Um,
course.
essentially, I've been in the KRH, the King's Royal Hussars, all my life.
Hmm.
Grew up with Avro, so to speak, in terms of this group. And yeah, things happened. We had to rebrand further along the line, and obviously I rose in the ranks. I was then XO, Executive Officer of the King's Royal Hussars at the
Hmm.
time,
Yep.
and it came down to a 5-hour D&D call between me, the former Field Marshal Gazeller, Avro himself, a resident
Yeah.
historian, and at that time it was Commanding Officer Carnage, and Spades was there as well. So we spent 5 hours, a grueling 5 hours no less, going over every little bit of history on what we want to reform the King's Royal Hussars into. Now, the King's Royal Hussars, essentially, we were the armoured regiment, the heavy regiment, so we needed something that accurately reflected that. We got to thinking, and we liked the colours of the Romans. And then we started thinking about, hold up, what about the Roman legions? Then the Roman legions spiraled into a whole bunch of conspiracy theories, a whole bunch of topics,
Yeah.
hours upon hours of talking,
Certainly
and
did.
I eventually landed upon the Hadrian's Armored Legion. Now, Hadrian's Armored Legion was an elite Roman legionnaire squad. Now, they were focused on shields and generally being strong and heavy and defensive. I was like, that fits absolutely perfect. We do our research, we go into the fact checking of it. The former Field Marshal Gozeller, he loves it. We're all talking hella smack to each other. And honestly, it's one of the most enjoyable 5 hours I've ever had in my life. And then, long story short, we came up with these fancy little buttons. So these buttons are actually Roman coins that are implemented on our uniforms. A fun little sneak peek into what the hell actually is. We kept the signature crimson pants because, hey, that's what we were known for. A certain elitism is
Well,
what
yeah,
we
naturally.
kind of went for. Of
Well, I
course.
mean, exactly, and I'd say I'd hasten to agree. Honestly, it was a grueling conversation those 5 hours, but yes, I remember when you coined the phrase or you brought up the name Hadrian's Armored Legion. Everyone sort of it clicked instantly, didn't it?
It did.
And it was it's just fantastic times.
It was a great call.
Oh
So we
yeah, so
kept the signature red, added a little gold trim, and of course on our hats, you may have seen it earlier in the intro, but we have a little golden Roman eagle. Fits very well, and yeah, that's essentially the story of how the King's Royal Stars branded into the now Hadrian's Armored Legion, commanded by yours truly.
and there you have it, from a Roman eagle. Sorry, no, from a German eagle to a Roman eagle. Quite the step back in history, but nevertheless a step forward for our regiment, as I'm sure you would agree. Well,
Definitely.
yeah, I mean, it was certainly interesting times. I'm sure the audience enjoyed that a little bit there.
Hope
Now,
I didn't blow your all.
well, you boring. Come on, TJ.
You're right.
You
You're
you
right.
never describe yourself as
You're
that. Come
right. You're right.
on. Now,
My apologies.
a bit more about our regiment. As I'm sure both of us can talk about it for ages. Um,
100%.
and something that we find quite interesting is our little law of the regiment, namely of our tanks. So, as I'm sure we're both painfully aware, and those of you in the regiment as well, um,
Incredibly.
every tank from 1 to 6 has their very own name. Now, can you just run through a few of your favourites and tell us the backstory?
So essentially, in the HAL, we were looking for customized tanks, ways we can make tanks more personalized towards our regiment and towards our elite squad, the 30th Victorious Vanguard. Now, I, once again, had the genius idea of naming the tanks. These names were all decided upon each regimental vote, and each of these tanks, their name reflected a little bit of lore in terms of the numbers. Now, originally, these tanks didn't have names, they only had numbers, as I said, and they had numbers branching from 1 to 6. Now, there are 3 very specific tanks in regards to this 1 to 6, and I'll be going over their names.
Go
So,
for it.
first of all, we have tank number 2, Le Tonk. Now, Le Tonk was a little meme back in the King's Royal Hussars days, a little meme between Hans and Tanktastic. Le Tonk, French, and tends to run away from battles a lot of the time. And yeah, he was just a huge meme. Everyone memed on him, and he wasn't really taken serious, and thus became the lore of tank number 2, Latonk. My most hated tank, I should say,
Oh,
is
really?
tank
That's
number
quite surprising, actually.
4.
Oh, no,
You're
never
you're
mind. That's not
really
so good.
surprised that I hate number 4?
No, I thought you were talking about Latonk. I thought you'd finally given him some flack.
No, God
Well,
no.
lovely audience.
Tank.
I'd like to
Uh,
hasten before he goes on. Right, this is without a doubt. He might be. He's clearly very biased about this. And tank number 4. I I don't know. I feel just gets a bad rep, but that's just me. Please, I won't interrupt you any further.
Thank you. I would appreciate that.
Sorry, sir. Please do go on.
Essentially, tank number 4, the absolute bad child of the hell. So, tank number 4, we named him Brian because Brian didn't deserve a strong name. Brian didn't deserve a name that reflected true prowess. He deserved a name that reflected his reputation, a reputation of total ruin, total destroy, and total loss. You look at his KD ratio, you're getting nothing. He's on negative KDA.
It's not true. It can't be true.
He dies and dies and dies and dies again. Every crew in tank number 4, Brian, has been unlucky. Thus, we gave him the most boring, blandest name I could possibly think of, and thus the legend of Brian was born.
Oh, no, he's a lovely character if you get to know him. Really, he tries
No,
his best. Bless him.
he's really not.
And go on, enlighten us. What is this third tank you'd like to talk about?
Moving on to the brighter side of things, we have an old King's Royal Hussars piece of lore here. So, his name was Akhenatot. Back in the day, he was the commander of Tank Number 6. Tank Number 6 was known throughout the BAF as a whole. Whenever you came to a tank PvP event, Tank Number 6 was the tank that never lost. Tank Number 6 was indomitable. It won every single fight, took on multiple tanks at once, and came through unscathed. It was a sight to behold back in the days.
Certainly
Tank
was.
Number 6 was an infamous tank, and my first time being introduced to him by Akhenatot
Oh,
himself,
yeah?
he said, "Hey, you better not hurt my baby." Called it his baby. I was a little. This is when I was like, okay, what's going on here? And then he started going into the lore of a little bit, and that tank is the tank he's been in ever since he was enlisted. And thus, tank number 6 deserved a legendary name, deserved a name that inspires true defense and true bravery. And thus, Juggernaut was born, and he's a personal favorite of mine.
Well, there you have it. Thank you very much. So,
Of
as
course.
you can see, the how and back then the King's Royal Hussars, we have a vast history of from the COs to even the enlisted and everyone in between. We're a regiment that prides ourselves on our history and our bond and connection. But okay, I think we've had enough talk about our regimental history. I think it's time to focus on you now. A little while back, you mentioned you're reformed now, and some of you may know what I'm about to say.
Oh God.
Yes, you knew you had to be coming. Now, you had a bit of a reputation at the time for forming this impromptu group, And what was it called again? I think it was called the Rizketeers or something like that, wasn't it? Please do enlighten us at that time.
Damn
What
right.
exactly he was thinking?
The Rizketeers. So essentially, at the time, I was enjoying BAF as a
Yes.
whole. I was an officer. I was chilling. I believe I was major at the time when this all originated. But I was having a great time with two of my greatest friends. My best friend Kohai and one of my greater friends Felix. And at the time, we used to go to recruitments and we were together. Our group was unstoppable, recruiting multiple upon multiple people into the BAF. Now, eventually, some of these people, they did tend to be on the more female side.
I
I
see.
get it. Don't look at
Mm-hmm,
me like
mm-hmm.
that, okay?
Oh, I'm looking
It just
at
happened to be like that,
you.
okay?
Of course, yes.
Now, all three of us at the time, Riz started to circulate, started to be a little thing. For those of you who don't know, Riz is basically your game and chatting to the opposite gender and trying to pick up the opposite gender. So we made it a little thing between ourselves. We called ourselves the Rizgeteers. I, of course, was Sir Rizzler. You had Sir Rizzalot, which was Felix, and you have Sir Riz Too Much, which was Kohai. We became the Three Musketeers or the Three Rizketeers. And we used to go to recruitments. We used to, on purpose, go up, find anyone we could, and try pick them up with our either charm or pickup lines or borderline on our knees in full body, praying, please, please give me your Discord. It was it was harrowing times.
Yes, I
And at
must
the
say
point,
I was privy to it once or twice, and I must say it was quite the sight to
it
see.
was quite the scene. But
Sad,
look,
some people might say, but
I took a
I digress.
lot of criticism. I
Mhm.
took a lot of hate. A lot of people did not like me at the time. Personally, I don't know why, but hey, I had some confidence.
It was all a bit of fun, wasn't it?
Of course, we had an enjoyable time. But of
Exactly.
course, now I am reformed.
Mm.
The Rizketeers sort of disbanded for a little bit. We're still there on the sidelines. Who knows? Maybe we'll make a return someday. But I'm reformed, and I tend to stay away from the rizzing business. I have my eye on a special lady myself.
I see, I see. Very interesting. Thank you very much. Okay, so now we've talked about our regiment's history. We've talked about your history. Now, I think it's time to talk about the history of, well, one of the How's mascots, if not the main one, as well as one of your
Course.
friends, and indeed all of our friends. Please, can you just enlighten us? Where did you find Flob? How did you happen upon Flob? Plob, sorry, terribly sorry. I see him floating there. Don't mean to offend
Butchering
you,
his name
but yes, I
already.
know, no, terrible state of affairs. Anyway,
You're
so
lucky I left him home today. I didn't bring him with me on purpose.
oh, oh, really? What's that doing though?
I do not know. Uh, um,
Huh,
she's not
I
there.
see.
Are
But
you
he's
okay?
not.
No.
I don't know. Maybe I'm seeing things.
Look,
Okay.
he would be
Never
on my
mind.
head, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I would feel him if he was on my head.
Okay. No. Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. Terribly sorry.
Yeah,
I've been very
I
tired today.
left
I've
him. In,
not had
oh,
much tea, as you can see.
it's all good. It's all
Um,
good.
yeah. No. No. Anyway, sorry. On to
Yeah.
Plop.
Okay. Cool. Cool.
Let's get back on topic. Come on.
Of
So
course. Of course.
Plop.
No.
How did you happen upon him?
Okay. So I'm gonna give you two sides. The first side is gonna be TB Bresson, now Sky
Yeah.
Marshal. One day came into my DMs after knowing him for about 2 years now. He sends me a really interesting GIF, a GIF of a certain blobfish. Now this blobfish. For those of you that know, and for those of you that don't know, blobfish, when they are pulled out of water, they tend to collapse on themselves and they make a very quote unquote ugly picture. I personally think the blobfish looks beautiful. I think he's a little bit handsome, a little bit charming. He definitely carries a little bit of me. Moving on. TB sent me this really horrible GIF, and I'm like, what the hell did you just do? And he's like, hey, look at this. And he drops me the asset. So I click on it, and I'm like, ain't no way. And he's like, yeah, I have a blobfish asset. You want it? And at the time, TB was my tailor. And I'm like, damn right, I want it. Hell yeah. So he gives me Plob. He makes it a little toggle, and I basically toggle him on and off into my hand. I used to pet him for people,
Mhm.
and at the time, the Hal needed something it could rally behind. and I, being a pretty prominent member at the time,
Here we go again.
used Plob as our mascot.
Yeah.
Everyone loved them, and he became a resident known individual around Bath. Certain people, namely the current Fleet Admiral Ludus, yeah, you used to call him disgusting, used to
Okay.
call him horrible, used to call him so many mean names,
Of
almost made him
humanity.
cry. But blobfish, they have thick.
Well, sorry about that, folks. Appears we had some technical difficulties there, but not to worry. We're back. Hello, you can see this handsome face, and of
My
course, my handsome guest.
apologies
Yes, his
for more
apologies there as
than
well.
yeah,
So,
my fault.
back to business. So you've mentioned well, one of the origins of Plob, and I remember you saying that there was a second one. Can you elaborate a bit more on that?
So the second one came from a certain Fleet Admiral Ludus at the
Hmm.
time. Yeah, I'm talking about you. She used to call Plob disgusting. Used to call Plob horrible. She called Plob so many mean names that it almost made him cry.
Wow.
However, blobfishes they tend to have thick skin,
Hmm.
just like me. Now, the real origin behind this is a wiki was being made at the time, and Panda he decided to make a wiki for Plob himself, and I needed a little bit of lore. So the second origin story is I was casually wandering around Japan Shrine, my favorite map, if you
Hmm.
guys don't know, just as you do. And I looked into the water and I happened to see a blobfish being bullied by a bunch of koi fish.
Oh no, how
I
mean?
couldn't, I, great heavens, I couldn't let
I
that
mean,
stand.
yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
Immediately, the
God.
hero I am, I
Yes.
ran in there. I tapped my elbow 3 times, jumped into the pond on those koi fish, and I got into a scrap with them. I beat every single one of them up,
I mean,
and
naturally, of course, it's you.
of course, naturally, and I rescued the
Mhm.
blobfish, and he then soon became my best friend. I called him Plob,
How nice.
Plob, and
Well, I
that's his.
certainly see why you'll have such a connection with him now. And well, I must
I'm
say,
right.
now knowing that, I'm even more endeared to him as well. So there you
He's
go.
quite
You
the
have
character. I
that.
just wish he was
He
here
certainly
today.
is. Yeah, no, I think we all do. No, it's a real shame he can be with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I left him at the sitter, but we move. We move. It's a
it's fine.
canon event.
I'm sure, I'm sure he will love being here, but it's all right.
It's okay. He's not a big fan of bright lights.
Oh, you know.
Would have been cooking him. And
Mhm.
luckily, I tend to have a little bit of a sweaty forehead,
Yeah.
so he
No,
gets all the water he needs for all you animal lovers out there.
no, he doesn't really
So,
appear to like bright lights. I must say that. But anyway, yeah.
huh? Moving on back to the interview,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes. Go on.
That's it. That's what I talked about. Plop. What's
That's
next?
it.
Hit me with it.
Okay, okay. Actually, hang on. Well, I've got a cue card here somewhere. Sorry, you can clear that quite quickly. I couldn't quite. It's under here in one of these drawers.
Almost.
Uh,
Jeez.
I beg your pardon. You
Huh?
showed it in your on.
Hey,
Okay. Anyway, all right. Here we go. Right.
remember
Yes,
who
of
does your
course.
promos?
How could? I'm sorry. Okay. Sorry. Professionalism now. Come on. Now, that's the past that done and out of the way. Bish bash boss. That's sorted. Okay. You've
All
told some
right.
amazing stories, but I'm sure you've had some amazing stories in your present as well, in your recent time here. So you've been CEO of the Hadrian's Arban Legion for quite a long time now, about 6, 7 months approaching now, I think.
A little bit longer even.
A little
Yeah,
bit longer. Wow. Yeah.
it's been quite a while ever since I was major, and I'm now OF5
Wait,
colonel.
crikey. I mean, yeah, wow. But yeah, I mean, in that time, you've certainly had many different experiences, good and bad, I'm sure.
I'm
Can you
right.
tell us what are the highlights, some of the high points, the low points, anything you can say?
So one of the real high points for
Hmm.
me personally was Lower Corps at the time done this huge operation
Oh
called
yeah.
Operation First Class.
Hmm.
Now, the key thing about this is Operation First Class gave the BAF an RP channel. Right now, this could have went one of two ways.
Oh
This
yeah.
could have went extremely, incredibly wrong,
Hmm.
or it could have been perfect.
Hmm.
Luckily, it was the latter. It was
Thankfully, yes.
incredibly perfect. And most of it, I don't want to say it was because of me, but realistically, it was because of me. Me,
Of course, yes.
myself, and of course, at that time, Lieutenant General Carnage.
Mhm.
We created
The
the whole
dynamic
little RP scene. Me and Carnage, little background lore. We were friends. We were pretty good friends. We talked, we bantered a lot. We talked a lot of smack about a lot of people, about ourselves mostly, to
Yeah.
be honest. But we decided to bring our humor, bring our relationship into the BAF RP channel as a whole. So essentially, the scene takes place at Camp Tidworth, I believe it was.
Oh
We
yeah.
were all getting the tanks nice and ready for the upcoming battle. The
Mhm.
day before, the field marshal had been kidnapped by some crazy, crazy. I can't actually can't remember his name, but I'm pretty sure we annihilated him.
Oh yes.
Anyway,
That's it.
he was kidnapped, and our mission was to rescue him back. So, of course, being the Hadrian's Armored Legion, the armored division, we decided to take our tanks in there, but they needed
No.
maintenance, repairs, and I was there on the front lines repairing them myself, giving them a nice little cleaning, and I had a little emotional scene between me and Plob because
Mhm.
obviously, you know, being the heroic person I am, I couldn't take my fish, my best friend,
Yes.
into battle.
Of course, can't
So
risk him.
of
Too dangerous.
course, there was tears shed, and I sadly had to leave Plob at home, not knowing if I would, well, ever return.
Mm.
I could have died very then at that
Yeah.
battle.
I mean, thankfully, thankfully, at least you're still
Oh
here.
yeah,
What
clearly
a
I
hero!
didn't,
Come
because I'm
on.
here, you know. But
Come on, everyone! Round of applause, please,
thank
for
you,
the
thank you, thank you.
absolute hero.
Okay, of course. But I left him at home,
Yeah.
and I was RPing this. I was like, I was so into it, and you could tell the emotion. There
Oh
was
no, I
heart
certainly could. Yeah,
reactions.
I remember
There
reading it
was
myself.
yeah, there was people crying at the time. It's pinned
Mhm.
somewhere. But I left Plob at home, and all I had was a little Polaroid of him tucked nice in my suit jacket pocket. And I looked at that Polaroid whenever I went into battle, and it gave me something to fight for, something to
Mm.
remember. Now, once I'd left Plob, of course, I had to go talk to the big man himself, the
Mhm.
overseer of the operation, Lieutenant General Carnage. Now, getting an
No.
audience with this man is no easy feat because he had a lieutenant with him, Lieutenant Hyde. Now, Lieutenant Hyde, whew, she was a beauty at that time, and of course, caught my eye. There was a little bit of riz going on
Oh
here
dear.
and
Yeah.
there.
Two of
Yeah,
the old roots coming back.
of course. And that's essentially how I managed to get my meeting. I
I
rizzed her up a
see.
little bit, talked to her, and I forced my way inside of a army headquarters.
Mhm.
I then barged past a bunch of security. Lieutenant General Carnage was incredibly quote unquote busy, doing nothing,
That's
playing
it.
cards, signing documents, etc.,
Yeah.
staring out his big window, thinking he was something. You know how they be.
Mhm. Mhm. Standard.
Regardless, I went right up to his office. I knocked on it. Lieutenant Hyde said no. And then I said no to her. I barged in and I demanded to him that Plop be safe. I need absolute
Mhm.
security
Yeah.
on my best friend
Naturally.
because with his safety in mind, then I was able to fight clearly and fight at my best. There
Yeah.
was a ton of talk between us. There was a fight. There was anger. There was accusations thrown out. He threatened to court-martial me as well.
No.
It was
Of
an
course.
entire scene. But nonetheless, I turned on the signature charm. At least that's what I remember doing. I did not
Ooh,
beg or
oh,
nothing.
nice. Of
And
course not. Ooh, pardon me.
and yeah, Plop was safety was guaranteed, and Operation First Class went on to be a roaring success. Field Marshal was rescued, and yeah, it
Mm.
was it
But you
was
know what? That was
amazing.
truly inspiring. I mean, so inspiring. In fact, I sank even further into my chest than I already was. Just, I was just that taken aback.
It
So,
was honestly a
I
highlight of
mean,
my
wow,
BAF career.
that's yeah, incredible story. As I'm sure our lovely audience would agree. I mean, wow, you certainly have a way of words.
Damn right. Um, personal low point
Hmm.
with me in the group is as things went on,
Yeah.
I was stressed with IRL stuff.
Hmm.
I had lots of work I had to do. I had my exams coming up that I had to do, and of
Right.
course, I had to keep my regiment running. And
Hmm.
at the time, our numbers were looking a little low, so I had to
Yeah.
put on
That's fair.
some extra effort along with my fantastic staff team. Couldn't have done it without Avro,
Oh,
Pola, or MT, or even Panda at the time.
yeah.
My staff team are really what came together and inspired me to keep on going. But it was one of the low points I was struggling with a lot. I missed a lot of meetings, and in turn, it caused a little bit of infighting within the staff team. I was never at any of the meetings. It was on Avro, it was on Empty to carry them, and of course, a lot of people got displeased, and in turn, that made me a little displeased. But luckily, us in the Hal, we bring a different energy, a
Mhm.
different
Certainly do.
creativity. You know it from
Oh, yes, I
experience.
certainly do.
Anyone that's attended our regimentals knows that it's just a different energy.
Of
As
course.
of such, me and Pola, current EXO at the time, got together. We talked long and hard. We spent like at least a few hours, and we came up with a suitable time for me to go to the meetings. I talked it over with the other CEOs, Wobbly and Leo at the time, and yeah, we got agreeable times on that I could make the meetings, and then we had our regimental meeting scheduled a little bit later so that
Mhm.
I could fully be there. I could run it, and Hal has been prospering ever since.
Well,
But
yes,
that
and
was
I
one of my
suppose,
low points.
well, yes, I remember it well, and I suppose it just goes to show, our entire staff team in the how we all of us we have this bond that no matter what, no matter what happens, whatever lowest lows everyone goes through, or the highest highs, we're all there to sort it out and celebrate each other.
Our
And I suppose
resilience is second to none.
exactly, and being the armored regiment, I think that's really symbolic, and I feel like we embody the spirit of the how
I'm right.
amazingly.
Through and through. One of our killer catchphrases is we provide hard hitting offense and impenetrable defense.
Well,
That
there
goes
you
the same for the Hal staff team.
go. Not that we have a flair for the dramatics or anything.
No, no. Look, hey, we don't have any flair for no dramatics. I'm
No,
just a
that's
pretty out there type of person, and I'm lucky enough that my regiment puts up with it, and I
yes.
haven't been cancelled or I
I
haven't
mean,
been
yeah,
cast
you're just
out.
a humble, down to earth guy,
Well, hey, someone has to be. And
Well,
look at Mr. Ego over here,
oh yeah, I mean, oh, yeah, you know me.
running his own talk show, thinking he's a little bit something, talking
Yeah.
back to me no less, when
Well, I
I'm the
mean,
one that talks about his
it's
promo.
not
But
often that you're the guest and I'm the host, so got to make the
you
most
know
of
what? You're right. You're
it.
right. You're right. Hey, this is your show. I
Oh, I'm sorry. What?
apologize.
Oh, hang on,
Oh,
hang on.
hey,
What was that? I'm right. Did you just say? Oh, you heard it here first, folks. Crikey, that's I've never heard that one before. Okay, I'll be.
never
Wait one
again.
sec. My book's in here somewhere. Right there.
Okay, okay,
There
hey,
you
hey,
go.
hey, hey,
Sorry, I've just
hey.
got to remember this
Okay,
moment.
okay. Look, look. The cameras are rolling, man.
Yes, of course.
Cut that part out. Yeah, cut that part
Don't
out.
worry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, of course.
You were right. You were right.
Wow. Mhm. Well, now some of you, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Me and TJ have known each other for a very long time, and as I said, we climbed the ranks together. So naturally, it would seem that we have a very, very close bond. And so I just like to explore that a bit further and how we sort of came to be as close as we are, and not to mention how we are CO and EXO now as well. So I feel like myself. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
what stands out to me is sort of the beginning of this grand friendship that we've developed
The very
was
beginning.
yeah, so it was. I distinctly remember it was after one of the promotion ceremonies. I believe it was my first one with my dress uniform when I was a sergeant. I think you was a corporal at the time.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, you
exactly,
know exactly what I'm
exactly.
saying. Yeah. So, well, I mean, since you know, please do a bit more
So,
explaining.
this was also my first ever promotion ceremony where I had passed my phase one
Mm-hmm.
the day before and got private. And then, due to the events I attended that week, I also got promoted at that promotion ceremony for my first time. And it was Lance Corporal within a week. It was crazy, but it was also the time that Avro first got OR5 Sergeant or OR5/6 Sergeant. That's when he got his dress uniform, which was already updated by TB. And we used to do a little tradition after the promo ceremonies. Is each branch would go and do something, anything, and us in the army, led by Gazeller, he took us to a pool map, the BAF warehouse at the time. Now, I was new. I was a new face. I had my confidence. I had my charisma, but of course, big room with a bunch of people I didn't know. I figured the people that would talk to me out of everyone would be the people in the red pants. Now, I have previous group experience and previous pool experience. More importantly, which gave me a starting foot, so to speak, in
Yeah.
regards to the HAL tradition, HAL lore. So I saw a little blue-haired guy playing with the current CEO at the time, Hans, and I walked over and I said, "Hey, do you guys mind if I play next?" In
Mhm.
which Arrow turned around to me and his jolly British accent and British persona
Yeah, that,
said, "Hey, not a problem. Glad to have you here. You're new. Congratulations on your promotion." I'm like, "Hey, nice dress. You know, it's very fancy." And ever since then, it was a spark. But it was myself. It was Nulbert at the time, Sergeant Nulbert. It was Sergeant Avrolank, of course, and the current CO, Colonel Hans. All four of us decided to get a lovely little team game of pool going on, in which me and Avro were teammates.
of
And there's a
course.
little picture pinned somewhere,
Oh, yeah,
somewhere in the
it's
back.
floating around the ether somewhere. Yes.
Yeah, of Avro behind me, massaging my shoulders as I get ready to make the game-winning shot.
Yes.
And ever since then, our friendship bloomed. We grew up together. We became, matched in ranks. I overtook him, being, the gracious and heroic person I am. But hey,
There we go
hey,
again.
we got there. We got there. But
Yeah.
eventually, time's passed, and would you look at it now? The once man that was a sergeant, I then surpassed him straight to officer. He got RSM at the time, and now look at this. Me, OF5 Colonel, Averlink, OF4 Lieutenant Colonel, and now the Executive Officer of the Hadrian's Armored Legion.
God, what
My
a team.
Executive Officer.
And well,
And
there'll be no one I want to serve under
yeah,
more than you.
it's been a crazy,
Oh
crazy
yeah,
wild time. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
yeah. Honestly, neither would I. It's been absolutely marvelous.
Been amazing.
Well. Sorry, before I get too ahead of myself, I might point out here. So we've talked a lot about the past. Okay,
Of
a lot of the
course.
past and both of our experiences really.
Mm.
So now I want to give the audience a bit of a treat, a bit of a sneak peek. Is there anything that you've got in mind for well, either the short term, even the long term, in future? What you've got in mind for the how, or indeed the BAF? It could be your aspirations, or certain plans, or an event, or anything.
Okay,
Tell us what you've
so,
got in mind.
well, big things in store. A little sneak peek
Oh,
for you all. Essentially, the HAL during summer is we've gained a lot of members. We're gaining traction and we're gaining popularity. Now, I have been CEO personally for a really long time, and I think maybe, who knows, that it soon might be time for new talent to take the scene. Someone else to maybe take this favorable commanding officer position. Someone else to carry the weight of this sword. Someone else to carry the weight of these red lapels. And this is, hey, just speculation, of course. But I think that the time for me to pass on the legacy of the HAL is almost upon us. And whoever will become the commanding officer of the HAL will have my support 100%, and I'll be there backing them no matter what. And it's truly gonna be, difficult. Difficult seeing
understand.
something I've been in and been in control of for so long and letting someone else take the reins as I go on to do whatever other things, wherever the ground leads me. Because, I was going to say, the sky's the limit, but of course, we're not the Air Force, we're the Army, so the ground's the
Precisely.
limit. Really, really bad analogy, but hey, it got a few laughs the first time I used it. So,
Yeah. So it's like,
yeah,
oh, well, if not for you, I mean, the laughs are what you run off, basically, isn't it?
of course. It's just,
Wow. Well.
it's gonna be tough
No,
passing off the
yeah, no, I
regiment.
get
I've
that.
done
Wow.
so much work to it,
Mm.
and it's catered to be
I
like
mean, you certainly
this.
have, yeah.
It's
Mm.
I
Wow.
love it through and
Quite
through.
the bombshell, though.
Damn right.
Wow. Well,
Just
now, oh, well,
speculation,
there we
of
go.
course.
Again, such a bombshell. I've been knocked back into the seat again.
Jesus.
I know. Blow your socks off stuff, that is.
I think
Anyway, yeah.
it's
So,
time to
wow.
pass up the mantle soon.
Oh, wow. It's, yeah. And, well, very best of luck to whoever does get it. I'm sure they're going to be in for a tough job
I'm
living up to
right.
you. But yeah, anyway, wow. Okay. Wow, I'm almost lost for words there. You've got me all tongue tied now. Wow, that was very emotional. But
Tell me
anyway,
about it.
it's time to move on to one of my favourite sections of the show. You
Oh
will know it's
God.
coming. And keeping the name, I think, huh, it was a bit of an abstract name. So I think I want to change it to explain that quote. It's a bit more on the nose, a bit on the tin. So you guys know exactly what to expect at this point. I pick out two quotes, and we'll have our lovely guest explain the context and what they were thinking around the time they say it. Now, I have no idea which quotes I've chosen, so this is going to be. I'm sure they're shaking their boots right now.
Yeah, I say a lot of questionable things.
Well, there you
Okay,
have it.
a
So
lot of
this is going to
questionable
be
things.
very, very
I'm
interesting
gonna have to take
indeed.
my leg down for this. I think I need to focus.
Okay,
Aye,
okay.
aye,
Right,
cool.
okay. Let's open up the drawer here. It's here somewhere. Let's
Oh,
have a root around. Oh, yes, that's where I left it. Okay.
oh God.
Oof, okay.
I'm quaking actually, shaking a little bit.
Well, play yourself. Your first quote. My God, I am terrified of women. Now, having first read this, with your reputation as the Rizgateer and all that, or Sir Rizla, pardon me, this took me aback. Can you explain what you was thinking at this time? Because I'm sure we'd all like to know.
Okay, okay. So I do believe, if I remember correctly,
Yeah.
I was in a VC chilling with Felix and Kohai at the
Hmm.
time, and we were in a tailored VC, I believe, at the time,
Oh, right.
and we were out recruiting. Of course, I was streaming to the lovely people there,
Hmm.
and I was out there on my own. They were watching my stream through the VC, and I was
Yeah.
out there on my own. And as a Rizgateer, I start at the time. I
Of
built
course,
on the
before now.
confidence that I had
Yes.
when I had my other Rizketeers around me.
Hmm.
This time I was out on my own in this giant world and I saw some full body thoughties. Now,
Okay.
these full bodies, they were crazy, okay?
Yeah.
They
Right.
were all over. Their energy was
Yeah.
immaculate, insane.
Mm.
And one of them had came right up to me, and this tall ass Evie
Oh,
looks
right.
down at me and just starts poking at me, and I'm panicking in the VC. I'm like, gosh, what do I do? What do I do?
Yes.
Oh my god, I'm so
Quickly, I think.
yeah, yeah. I was like, bro, I am terrified of women. And that's how that quote became a thing. At the time,
Oh, so
I'm
right.
literally shaking. I'm shivering. I'm like, bro, what do I do? And Felix and Kohai are just laughing at me, bro. They're sitting there. They're laughing me in the VC. My
Yeah.
anxiety's spiking. I'm like, bro, I need to figure out something quick.
Yeah.
And, luckily, I saved it. I ended up raising them up. They didn't like it. They left. But, okay, story for
Mhm.
another time.
Wow. Wow.
But yeah, that's the origin of that quote.
Oh, fair enough. Well, well. Wasn't expecting that. Okay, fair enough.
It was
Righty.
not my proudest moment,
Oh, yeah, that's right. So
not by a long shot.
I'm sure you can say that about many things.
So
Anyway,
true.
as I'm sure you would say it. Real. Anyway, right. I think I got one here again.
Real.
Oh, give me a sec. Okay. Oh, where is it? Come on. Sorry, it's really lodged in here. Give me a sec. Oh,
Okay.
maybe it's not in that pocket. Sorry, give me one moment.
Real
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-bum.
prepared, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, that is standard. Got to be
I'm
ready.
feeling more
Okay,
confident by the second.
got it. I had to dig deep for this one. You're gonna enjoy it.
Hmm.
Punch it like your life depends on it. With the voice
Oh,
crack in it.
what? Punch it. Punch.
Punch it like your voice depends on it. Your life depends on it. With the
Oh,
voice crack.
God, punch it like your life depends on it.
Now,
Jesus.
you're not a man of desperation, from what I know. So this is going to be an interesting one.
I.
Can you even remember?
So long ago. Punch it. I am pretty sure that someone was streaming
Mm,
some sort of game.
yeah,
And as far as I remember, someone was panicking. Someone was like really panicking,
yeah.
and I think okay, I'm not gonna lie, I was backseat gaming. I'm pretty sure
Oh no!
I was backseat
Oh,
gaming. I was
terrible,
controlling a
terrible.
little bit, and they were in some sort of fight scene or
Yeah,
something like that, and they were being annihilated. I was panicking because I thought it was my playthrough pretty much with all my backseat gaming. So I was like in the controller seat, and I'm
yeah,
like, punch it, man, punch it, like your life depends on it. And the person in the VC screaming at me became a whole shouting match,
yeah.
and that's where that quote originated from. We did end up losing the match, losing the battle. We ended up dying
Right.
after all of that desperation, all that crying, all that fighting. it was it was a long time ago. Maybe I butchered that whole story. Who knows? It was such a long time ago. You're dredging
Well,
up my past.
no, well,
My
yes.
God,
That's the whole point of this bit. Is why what makes it so fun. But I mean,
Jesus.
whether it's a made up story or not, it still makes a great entertainment, as I'm sure most of us would agree. I mean, I mean, it
Okay,
makes sense that it didn't come directly from you because,
that's
I mean,
true.
as I said before, you're normally quite cool-headed,
I'm right.
or at least sometimes.
I like to think of myself as one
Yeah,
anyway.
well, you like to think of yourself as many things, but anyway,
Very
yes.
true. Very true.
Oh, righty. Oh, good heavens. I think that's the time once again. So, I'm very sorry. It's been absolutely lovely having you on. But before we go and say goodbye to our wonderful audience, have you got any final words of wisdom to impart upon us all?
That's a tough one.
Hmm.
Uh, I think realistically is when it comes to situations, I tend to think that improvisation is key. Improvisation, being able to think on the spot and being able to take a situation and run with it and make that situation that could have went bad or is going bad into something great. That's something that every good leader needs. It's something I have it in spades, buckets no less. But my advice to you guys out there is if you're trying to be a good leader and you need that head start, first of all, you need to believe in yourself because you, of course, are the one leading. You got to show that you're confident enough to lead. And you got to be able to improvise on the spot. Lots of things happen and lots of things you need to deal with. And improvisation is such a key part. At the time, Field Marshal Gazeller told me that, told me I need to be confident in myself. And it really hit home. At the start of being a CEO, I was hesitant. I would say in every message that, hey, look, you guys, I know I'm new, but I would like you all to trust me. So he dragged me into a D&D, shouted at my ass, and told me, no, that's not the way a leader acts. You cut it out. And I was like, you're right. And I need to cut it out. Started believing in myself. I started improvising. Lo and behold, hell's where it's at now.
And there
So
you go.
belief in yourself and improvisation is key, at least for me. Thank
Well,
you for this
no
enlightening
worries.
talk, Avro.
Absolutely. No, yeah, it's been a fantastic time. And there you have it, folks.
It's really been something.
Improvisation and belief in yourself. That's two very important tenets of leadership. That, I mean, yeah, very wise words. Thank you very much.
Oh, oh, I'm an old man.
Careful, careful. And
Oh,
thanks again to
jeez.
you. Oh dear, Kevin. No, no.
Oh, whoa. Sorry,
Have
I'm
you
a
got
little
any
bit
medics on
vertical there.
site? Okay, you all right?
For now, yeah.
Okay, cool. Talk about a dramatic finish. Okay. Well, while he's sorting himself out,
Oh,
I'd like to thank you all for watching once again. You've been a great audience, and, well, we wouldn't be here without you. So, on behalf of myself and my honoured guest, if you like to just come back into frame a bit, there you go. Fantastic.
yeah,
Wouldn't
hold
want
up.
you to miss out on the finale.
Of
There you
course,
go.
of
Yeah, of
course.
course. Come here, come here. We're
Oh,
all friends
other
here.
side, other side. Okay,
Up to
we'll
you, up
make it
to
work.
you.
We'll make it work. We'll make it
We'll
work.
make it
I'll
fantastic.
come through here. Don't
Careful
mind
with the
this.
steps. Of
Okay. Yeah,
There we go.
we'll do a little, we'll do a little pose for the
Of course.
camera,
Yeah, of
stuff
course.
like that. Nice
Bring it in,
little.
bring it in. That'd be
Okay.
lovely.
You know what?
Okay.
Look, this is scuffed, but we're gonna
No,
make it work. Okay.
well, thank you all very much for coming, everyone. I'll see you in the next episode. Cheerio.
See you guys later.